Welcome back, Rippers. Hey, good to see all you guys. I hope you guys have been enjoying this good weather that we've been blessed with lately. I know it's been at least good here. I think it's getting ready to do some raining and whatnot. If I'm a little bit dirty looking, I can't tell on the camera if I am or not, but been doing some stuff, whatnot, so I apologize. Also, been not feeling too well. Got that intestinal bug kind of thing going. Not really anything too bad or serious, just not feeling right and spending more time in the restroom than I'd like. That being said, don't want to get too graphic or anything. So, uh, been looking at what's going on out there and wanted to talk to you guys for a minute. You know, we've got our borders wide open, of course. We've got good people as well as dangerous people coming in. We are seeing an uptick in what dangerous people do, right? Preying on the innocent and making victims of people, right? And right now, I've noticed I was out actually in the gun stores here this week, and there's a lot of people buying firearms, right? And a lot of them are older people, ladies, right? People that are normally vulnerable to predators. Let's just put it that way, right? And they're in there looking for, and these are people that a lot of them haven't had a firearm before or used them much at all. And they're asking a lot of questions. And one thing I want to say to start off with, we're going to go over some selections here that I think would be good for people. Now, I'm going to do a series, right, where we're going to go over different types of firearms and that kind of stuff for carry, for at home, right? Home protection and that kind of thing. Because right now, I think it is something that everybody should really consider if they don't have one. Because as we've seen on the news, we've got police, chiefs getting out there saying, "Hey, we're not going to," like in Philadelphia, right? They're gonna not really have anybody on shift at any of the departments taking calls or anything from 3 in the morning a.m., which is oddly the witching hour, kind of strange, right? All the way to 7 p.m. or a.m. in the morning, right? And then they'll get around to answering calls. And I can tell you what, in a big city like that, I'll bet you it takes them all day to answer all the calls, right? Just to figure out what's urgent or not, or what they're already too late for. Not that they would have been there on time anyway, because you are your own first responder, right? I think we all know that now, and I think that's why we're seeing such an uptick in people purchasing firearms and looking for ways to defend themselves. Now, while we're going to go over firearms specifically in this, I'll do some other videos too, and I've done them in the past. You could look for them in the history that I think that, ladies especially, but people should carry alternative forms, meaning less than lethal, pepper sprays, tasers, batons, things like that, knives, etc. But I'm specifically going to focus on firearms because what I see happening a lot in the gun shops, and tell me what if you see this as well in the comment section, or if you've been exposed to this. But when you go in, especially if you're a lady, if you've gone in and you've gotten that guy at the sales counter that wants to tell you what he thinks is best, right? Or wants to sell you what happens to be in stock at the time, or has his opinions on what you should have, right? Because you'll get a lot of those that say, "Oh, revolver's the only way to go." I'm not going to say there's anything wrong with a revolver. Revolvers are great. But it may not be the right thing for you. I have met people that have been sold revolvers and can't even pull the double action trigger, right? That's something they should know before they purchase a firearm, because it's not a small purchase, right? And it's discouraging if they get something that they can't use. Now they feel like they're stuck with it, so they don't get out and train and practice, and that's what we want to avoid. So the first recommendation I'm going to say is wherever you're going, look for a gun dealer or a shop or whatever you're dealing with, a local FFL that has literature for instructors out there that actually have classes designed to let you be able to go out and try a variety of firearms. In fact, I would recommend that for people that are buying a firearm even just for fun. You may not like it. I know a lot of us have gone out there, you buy a firearm and you just don't like it after you go out and shoot it, and now you got to either sell it or you just stick it away in the safe. That's just ridiculous, right? Go out and try it out first, right? It's a small investment. You go grab yourself a box of ammo, pay him his $50 or whatever it might be to go out. You'll get a range day out of it. You'll go over techniques, and you'll be able to shoot the firearm that you're interested in. Or, for instance, in this case, you'll be able to go out and try different ones. And we'll go into why. Because one of the first things I've seen out there, especially recently, is the popularity of all of these little pocket-sized 380s, right? Now, I have nothing against them. I have quite a few of them. I like them for summertime carry, especially if I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt kind of thing, or I just want to go somewhere quick and put something that's usable in the pocket. And I've tried many different types, and it seems like they always start out with one model, and then they improve it, and then they improve it again, or I should go like this, right? And there's some issues with that. I see that being recommended a lot because they think girls want to carry these in their purse and want something tiny and small, right? Because they have tiny and small hands. Well, they're not thinking about that correctly, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying I'm an expert in this, but I have seen so many ladies go out and buy these little pistols like the Ruger LCP, and as you can see, these are all clear. The Ruger LCP, the original double action only, right? Or they buy the, the striker fire model, as we can see, that's clear. Or they get the new LCP Max right there, the one that holds 10 rounds. And these are all iterations that came over time. And there's nothing wrong with them. But what I find is that these ladies, they'll get out there, or older people that have issues with grips, if you have arthritis and whatnot, and they have a hard time charging them because these little guns are snappy and light and small. So because of that, they put a heavy recoil spring in them to kind of try and tame the recoil, as well as make it so it works, right? And I've found so many times I've gone out shooting with people to help them out at the range, learn some techniques, and they can't even charge the weapon, right? Let alone on this one, double action trigger, right? You got to pull it. Now there's some positive sides to this, because it means that you have intent. By the time you get to this double action trigger going off, you intended for it to go off. So there's no accidental discharges, right? And speaking of that, that's why you'll see each one of these has a little sleeve, right? These are pocket sleeves. I would never have a pistol like this in a purse without a sleeve like this on it, because things like lipsticks, pens, whatever else can get in between here on the trigger. And I know I'm in the trigger guard, but we know we're clear, right? And accidentally, through use or rummaging around in there, you could have a negligent discharge, right? So always have it in a pocket holster, especially if it's in your pocket, and especially if it's in your purse, right? Because we all carry things like pocket knives and whatnot that can get inside that trigger. Now, there's other different models. We'll go over those in a different video, but this one right here seems to be one of the most popular ones. It does work really well. I do like the double action one. I use this one actually quite often because it works reliably. It's simple. It has a nice heavy trigger pull, so I don't have to worry about it going off. It's not too bad to charge, but it still does have a heavy spring, and it doesn't have very big serrations on the slide, right? So it's a good choice, but these are things you don't want to find out after the fact, right? Then they made the striker fire model. So this one you could carry and charge it. Of course, we're empty. And then it's ready to go. So it just has a smaller, it's still a heavy pull, but it's not a big double action trigger pull, because then that way, when it goes off, you reset and you're ready to shoot again, right? So this one, you get more experience and whatnot like that, or you get more comfortable with it, is actually a great option. They put better sights on it. They put front serrations on it, and they put some rear serrations on it so people can get a purchase on this to charge it. It still has a stiff spring in it, right? And it's got these little controls that are hard to operate for that slide, stop, release, right? But they don't have any safeties, which I think that's a plus. And then they came out with the LCP Max 2. Now this one actually had usable sights with a front night sight. This one is a great option. It holds 10 rounds. As we know, we're empty. The spring on it is a little lighter. It seems like they learned some lessons. They lightened it up a little bit. It has a double stack style magazine, so it can hold 10 rounds. It's still nice and small, as you can see. It's not too much bigger than its other ones, right? Look at, there we go. And it still has the striker fired option, right? So when you cock it like this, it's got a firm trigger pull, and then a reset that's fairly long, but not too bad, and another pull. It's also got a little stop right here that keeps the over travel down, which I really like. These are great manageable firearms. This one right here I think is good because it has a big enough grip on it that people can hold on to it. It's a smidge bigger, lighter spring. Might be a little bit more manageable for ladies, people with grip issues, elderly people, so forth, beginners and whatnot. But the other thing about it is when you start using these and stuff, you have that muzzle really close to the front of your hand right there. So these tend to have more incidences of negligent discharges, accidental discharges, whatever you want to call it, with a hand forward of the barrel, right? So that's one thing to be concerned about. So these are great options, but people don't really think about that. They get in the store, they kind of try it out, but they don't really get to do it. And when they get out to the range, they finally get to shoot it, and they find out the thing's an obnoxious little beast, and they don't enjoy shooting it. And when that happens, they don't get out and practice, right? Not to mention these little guns probably aren't meant for as many rounds, although they should be, and I've put many, many rounds through these, but they probably won't put as many rounds through them as a full-size gun or even a compact and whatnot like that, right? But you want people to go out, and you want to go out and practice with this. You don't want to discourage them off the very beginning. You don't want to make their first experience not fun, right? So we'll set those aside. Now, the next pistols that usually get advised to ladies and people with grip issues, first timers and things like that, is a revolver. Now, you've all heard your guy that's out there at the counter, if you've ever been standing there while somebody's buying a gun and they say the revolver's the only way to go, there's no safeties on it, it always works. That's not always true. Revolvers can jam as well and have issues, especially if the primers aren't seated well, it's reloaded ammunition. They have their quirks, right? Get too much lint rolled up in it, or things jammed in it, like a quarter or a dime from putting it in your purse or pocket. But it's a good option because there are some things that they're correct about there. One, there's no safeties on them, right? And that is a good thing, in my opinion, for self-defense, because it's one less thing to think about. And because small motor skills, when you're in a stressful situation, tend to dissolve and get smaller the more stressed you are, especially the less you practice, right? So you have issues with things like safeties. I can tell you, if you get out there and look on there, there's many, many videos out there of situations in shootouts where the store owner and whatnot got panicked and got shot at first because he didn't have his safety off. And luckily, in some of them, he was able to get it off in time. But that being said, there are some good options for that. What I wouldn't do is, a lot of times they'll try to sell you these big ones with the big barrels and whatnot like that. And there are some advantages to those as far as weight and whatnot, but they're not very concealable. Some options that are really good would be, this was my first one, was just a simple, and as you can see, we're unloaded, right? Is a simple Taurus. It's a 357. It does have a ported barrel. I might not choose the ported barrel for a first-time shooter because it's obnoxious and they may not enjoy shooting it. It does have, it's about a 1.5 inch barrel on there. They may consider it a 2-inch barrel. It is a double and single action, right? Now, the advantage to that, and these are all like that except for this last one, is you have that double action pull, which makes sure that your intent in your mind, you know that you're pulling this back and getting ready to engage the target. So there is some room there where you can let off and go, no, maybe not, right? But you can also shoot it more finely by pulling it back, which makes the trigger much lighter and going off. So people can be intentional in that direction too, where they draw up, pull it back, and they're ready, right? Or you can use that as a, hey, your first one is the, hey, back, don't bother me, get away, right? Give them your warning, and then you have your double action that you need to go and practice at the range so that you can get it to that point where you can get a memory, hold it, and then the break, right? This one is an all stainless model, so you don't have much upkeep in it. I would always recommend that, so that, because most people don't oil their guns like they should and whatnot, but it is shiny and everything, so it's not something that would be, say, like covert or, hidden, if you're going to be carrying that way. But it is small, it is carryable. This is actually the holster I carried it in for many years. It was one of my first carry guns. It is a small of the back Galco holster, made out of leather. It holds 5 rounds of 357 or 38. Now, if you're going to get a revolver, one of my opinions is get a 357 if you're thinking about a 38, because you can always shoot the 38 out of it. This gun, because it's heavier, be less recoil. It's got a nice Hogue grip on it, right? It's got ported barrel, so that's going to take care of some of the muzzle flip. And it was a really good firearm, but it is heavier, and you do get to notice it if you're going to be carrying all that every day. And that's one thing that I don't think that people, when they go out and they get sold a revolver and stuff, is people realize that you're going to have to be comfortable with this gun. Otherwise, you're not going to wear it every day. You want something that's comfortable so that you'll wear it every day. That's the whole purpose, because the time you don't have it, and I've had those times in the past, is the time when a situation comes up where you think you might need it. Now, another option for the ladies is, and they even called it, let's just check there, see, as you can see, right, clear, is a Ladysmith. This is a Smith & Wesson Model 36. Now, they also had one that didn't say Ladysmith on it in the 36. It's just a little, some people call them a Chief Special or Satellite Special, maybe. Don't quote me on that, but it's a nice, it doesn't have a whole lot of metal like this one does. It has just a little 1-inch barrel on it, no ports, right? And it has, and why I love this gun is this rosewood grip with the finger molds on it, and sometimes they have rubber Hogue grips which fit well too. It's a nice small grip that fits in your hand well, so you can get a good grip on it. You still have that double action that you can time, trigger pull, right? Let's see if I can, right? And then you can pull it back and have a nice fine option to where you're ready to go. For instance, intruder comes in middle of the night, you hear a bumping noise, you want to be ready. You can be in double action in case you're not sure, it might not be one of your kids, a guest that's in the house, something like that. But if you know it's an intruder, you can pull that hammer back, have your trigger discipline on the side there, and when it's time to go, you have a nice light trigger pull for it to go. This gun weighs a lot less than this one. This one is, though, only a 38. And it holds 5 rounds of 38. Now, that's the downside to the revolvers is the ammo and how much you can carry. So you would want to have speed loaders with these, but even at that, you're only talking about 5 rounds on a speed loader. Speed loader just is a little device that holds 5 rounds, and when we go over more revolvers, I'll show you one in the future video. But it fits in there, you twist it, it drops the shells in, and then you can toss that or throw it in your pocket and you're ready to go. It takes longer than a semi-auto firearm to load, but it is still an option, and you should have them, because 5 rounds, even though they say most altercations are between 3 and 5 shots, I think we've seen plenty of videos now where, well, at least the police videos we see, they really like to empty those magazines, right? And so do the bad guys. And that's not a criticism, because if the threat's still there, you have to stop it. Sometimes I think it goes a little too far, but I'm not there in that situation. That isn't for me to criticize, unless it's, let's say, what would be the word I'm looking for? Malicious, right? Like, you didn't have to take that shot. Anyway, these are great. This Model 36 Ladysmith, you can even see it says Ladysmith right there, and it kind of feels funny when I carry it, but I love this firearm. This is the firearm I keep handy in a place in my house where it's easily accessible, but only I know where it's at, right? Or the family knows where it's at. That it's something when I need to grab it quickly to go. And that brings me to what I moved to eventually, which is this one. And see, I've got it in a nice retention holster. This is just an inexpensive Black Hawk holster and a paddle. So say I just need to run to the store real quick, in my around the house clothes, and I just want to throw something on. Now, I can throw a speed loader in my pocket. I can stick this into the paddle into my waistband and belt. It's held outside. I throw my shirt tail over it, and I have something that's usable and ready to go, right? So, like I show you, it's clear. Now, this is a 5-round 357 Magnum. This is the newer iterations of it. This one is a model 340, and they have one other model that's like a fraction of an ounce lighter than this one. It's made out of like scandium or something weird like that. This is the one that's right under that. This is a performance model, M&P. It has the night sight on the front, which is nice. I think that any firearm you get for protection or carry, you should have a night sight on it, because without it at night, you're really not going to be able to pick up your sight. So it gives you something to key on in at night. Now, it does only hold 5 rounds, but it holds 5 rounds of 357. Now, you can use 38, but it holds 357. Now, the downsides of this, and this is for the new shooters, ladies, elderly, stuff like that. It's easy to use, no safeties. Anybody can manipulate this gun fairly easy. The trigger is nice and smooth, but it's hammerless. So it's always a double action. Now, if I was to do this again, I'd get the same sort of lightweight model, because this thing weighs like 13 ounces. So it's under a pound, I think. Quite a bit under a pound, but 13 ounces. And the other one, I think, is like 11.8 ounces or something like that. And anyway, this one has an internal hammer on there, so there's nothing to pull back. If I did it again, I'd probably have that one that has the shrouded hammer, but you can still pull it back if you want, because I do like that single action pull. However, I practice a bit. So this one I've actually got kind of used to, timing it. You can get there and you hear that last click, and then it's ready to go. And you hear that last click. Oops. See if I can do it. There you go. And it's got a heavier trigger, so there's some intent in that. Again, going to carry this in the purse. You want something that covers the trigger, whether it's a sleeve or whatnot like that. But it's a great gun to use. You also can put the power of the 357 in there you can practice with the 38s. That's another good thing about these little snub noses, is you can go out and practice with 38 special. Nice light recoiling, about like a 9mm or less in some ways. In recoil, felt recoil, and you can then practice and practice and practice, and then put the 357s in there, practice a little so you know what to expect, and then you can carry the 357 in there. This will shoot plus Ps as well as all of these will. You just don't want to shoot a lot of plus Ps through it, right? The only downside to this one, besides not having the single action option with the trigger, or with the hammer and trigger system, is the fact that it is really light. That means the recoil is fairly obnoxious with this one. You're going to know it, and it's something you're going to want to practice with and get used to. And some people may not like it. Again, I'll refer back to the beginning of the video where I said, go to a place that'll let you try these out. You may find that this one is just not pleasant to shoot, but this one is. And they're both 357, so this one might be the more option, and you're willing to carry a little more weight than not. I mean, this one doesn't even feel like I'm carrying anything when I'm carrying it. It's really light, and I'm okay with the recoil. So again, go out, do one training course to let you try these out, and then that way you know what you're getting into before you purchase it, right? Because I got nothing against revolvers. I love this little guy. Let me tell you what, if I had to do it again, I'd get that 11 point whatever ounce one, and with the hidden hammer on it, or the recessed hammer on it, and go with that one. And who knows, maybe someday we'll find one of those for a good deal, right? Right. So that being said, and get yourself a good holster for it that you can put on really quick. So that's the next option I would recommend for the people we're talking about here. Ladies, elderly, people with grip strength, arthritis, things like that, right? Because people that are actually victimized a lot too, because, let's face it, the bad guys out there, well, they're cowards, right? They don't look for the people that look like they can defend themselves, or the guy that looks like he might have a firearm on him. They're looking for the person that's in the wheelchair, or has, curled up hands, or the lady that weighs a, $105, right? Those are the kind of people they're looking for. Not saying that the ladies that weigh $105 or the elderly people in wheelchairs aren't badasses, but you need something to put in your advantage. So next we'll get to semi-autos. Now, these are just some of the choices, and again, there'll be future videos where I go over more choices as far as the semi-autos, but these are great choices, I think, for the first time, and you know, the target audience we're looking at in this video. And that would be, now of course these were semi-autos as well, these little micro ones, but as we know, really hard to operate. These would be your more carry guns, right? So it'd be like these two right here. Now, I carry the SIG. You're going to probably say, well, why isn't the SIG you carry up here? Well, because it has other things on it that aren't really needed for first-time shooters and whatnot like that. We'll, like I said, we'll go over those in other videos. But these are just two options that I think are great options right now. And there's one I should probably have up here that I'll have in the next video, which is the Reflex, but I haven't had much leather time or holster time behind that, so I haven't been to the range much with it so far. It's really shining, let me tell you what. That FN Reflex, it's shooting great, trigger is great. That will be a great option, so we'll go over that in a future video. But for right now, I picked up this one. This is what got me loving SIGs. This is a SIG 365 SAS. It has a weird sight on it that's kind of like an illuminated night sight red dot, or green dot, and it has no front sight. So basically you just level up flat. If you can see that dot, you're on target, right? I may not advise that one. I may get the option with the sights on it for a first-time buyer. Not necessarily this one, but what I like about this one is it's smooth. That's the whole point. Was this SAS was what that meant was nothing to snag, right? It has no front sight to snag. The corners are all rounded, the edges are all done, the rear sight is recessed into the gun so that it's actually right there. So if you can see that dot, you put the target on top of that dot and you're on target. It's really a neat design. It keeps it very small. It's very short, as you can see, and as you can see, we're unloaded and show clear. There are controls on it. As you can see right there, there's a slide release. There's no safeties, but you can see how it's recessed. So it's not really easy to get to and operate. You got to get a fingernail in there or really push in there tight to release that slide, or even pull the slide back and let it go. So for that, I don't know if I like that so much, but the magazine drops out really nice and easy. It does hold, this one holds 11 plus 1 or 10 plus 1, so there's 11 rounds in there. You can get a little light laser combo or just a light combo. This is a TLR6. I love these for these small carry guns, and you can get holsters for them as well, and they're just on the front of the light rail and around the trigger guard, so it keeps a nice compact package for you to carry. Now, the other thing I like about this is it has ports in the barrel right there and openings in the slide for the gas to expel. One thing I'm not a fan of, and you can put your comments and agree with me or not, that's fine, but I am not a fan of slide comps. Slide comps, they're inefficient. They do work, but they don't work as much as a ported barrel, and then again, neither of those two work as much as a comp on the end of a barrel, right? Because the gas is more sealed, more directed than a slide comp. Slide comp, because the slide's moving and because the gas is kind of just expanding as it goes out, you might get a 20% reduction at best. I'd say more like a 10-15%. And if you look at any of the videos that test them side by side where they show the recoil, you can see and that the recoil is less on a ported gun, and then it's even more less on a gun that has the comp on the end of the barrel. And we'll show those in future videos, like the gun I carry. And I'm sure you guys have seen it before in these videos. Now, this is a striker fired gun, so basically, I should just drop that magazine. So there you go. Oh, that's a nice trigger. Then the gun fires, you reset, and then there's a nice trigger. It's a little bit spongy, kind of like a Glock, but not as bad as a Glock. So that's why I really like this option. Like I say, nice and small, not too heavy, carries enough rounds. You can get a 13 round magazine for this as well. And if I was going to carry, I would carry at least 2 extra magazines with this, being the 13, I'd have like a 13 and maybe another 10 rounder. But that's what I would carry. Nice small package. As you can see, I put a little bit of moleskin on here so it doesn't rub up the grip texture tends to rub against my sexy love handles. anyway, and give me a little bit of rubbing, especially in the summertime. So that's just a little trick. You can get yourself some moleskin, stick it on there. Now, that's a great option right there for people. It's 9mm. So the recoil is not horrendous anyway. It doesn't have a whole lot of snappy recoil. That's why you don't see the Hellcat up here. Even though I love the Hellcat and have one, it is snappier than this one or any of the other SIG 365s, right? But it's a great firearm, really well built. I do like it too, and you'll see it in future videos. Now, the next one is the one I had before this one, is the Glock, and we'll just check here to make sure it's empty. Is the Glock 43. Now this one isn't an X, and what that means is the X just has a wider grip, carries more ammunition, right? If I had it to do, I may consider the X, because even though it's a little fatter in this area, it does give you extra rounds. I want to say somewhere around 10, 11, maybe even 12 rounds. I'm not positive because I don't have one, but this one is the 43, the first model, and it was it's a 6-round, but as you can see, I got extended magazine bases on there. Those are Terran Tactical extended magazine base, so now you get 8+1, which is like carrying a 1911, so that's pretty good. It's 9mm, right? It's a Glock, so you know it's going to work. I never had this gun fail on me. It is easy to use, accurate, reliable, and it's upgradable, as you'll see. You can see on here, as this is my carry gun, I have a threaded barrel on the end, so I could put a comp on it if I wanted. I could put my suppressor on it if I want. It has suppressor height sights, and this does actually work with my suppressor quite well, even though it's a fairly large suppressor. You don't have to put those things on there, but I would recommend night sights on there. And this is a recommendation I would do, and why I like the Glock as far as its availability to upgrade is you can put better triggers in them, even though for self-defense I just stay with the stock trigger for liability reasons, but you don't have to. Just make sure it's a good 3.5 pound trigger or so in there. But you can see this little plate that's on the end there. You see that? And what it does, it gives you a T-point right here, and it's not like a big old hooked, finger thing, so you pull it back like a competition gun would have. This is just one that goes right out the outside. They even make one out of polymer, a company does, that's tighter to the gun, so it doesn't stick out quite as far. But the nice thing about this is it's nice and smooth, it's aluminum, so it's quality, and you can pull it back to charge the weapon. And what this does is it gives people with grip issues an easier way to do that, because you notice they don't have front serrations, we only have rear. And some people just can't get that grip on there because there's still a fairly stout spring, because this is a double spring, double captured spring system on this. It doesn't recoil excessively, and it's just a nice looking gun. As you can see, this has got the TLR6 on there again for the Glock 43, so it makes a nice small package. This has really served me well. It was a really great gun. It really shoots nice. If I had to do it again, I might think about the X, but I'd have it set up the same way. And these are things that ladies can think about, because with these little guns, there's really no accessories. There's no grip enhancers. There's some grip, like you can put grip tape on there, or some Hogue grip wraps and on there, but there's no anything to put on there to aid actually charging the gun. And a lot of people, believe it or not, especially first timers, aren't comfortable at first with carrying the gun with one in the chamber. I would suggest, if you get out there and practice a lot, always carry one in the tube, because these guns are safe. They're, especially the striker fires and the double actions, they're not going to drop and go off. For the most cases, they've gone through all those trials and whatnot. Yes, sometimes they have issues like the big SIG 320, but none of these I've showed you have those kind of issues. Same thing with the revolvers and whatnot. They all have safety features in there to keep accidental discharges from happening. So I'm trying to show you safe guns that you can use and safely keep one in the tube with, right? Okay, so that being said, I have one last offering I'm going to show you guys. And this is one, it's not a compact, right? So this is a firearm that I think Smith & Wesson listened to the people out there and their issues and actually found ways to address them, right? Now, this is the Performance Center model. You don't have to do that. This is a Smith & Wesson Shield EZ model, 9mm, not the 380. I think 380, if you're going to get a 380, you might as well get a 9 if you can. So it is, the EZ means it's easy to use. They've done things to it to help first-time shooters, ladies, people with grip issues, strength issues, things like that, manipulate the gun safely and effectively and efficiently, right? So this being the performance model, you don't have to get this model. This one runs a little bit more, although it's not much. This one's in the mid 500s, and the other model I think you can get under 400 on sale sometimes now, which is, they still have an EZ, it's just not a Performance Center model. But I'm going to show you this one. So I've already pre-cleared all of these, but as you can see, now it is, first thing you're going to say is boy, that's bigger, but it's not a lot bigger. I mean, it's around the size of a Glock 19, I'd say, right? But without the capacity in the grip. Now, they may have a higher capacity model out now in the Shield, but I've always liked the way that the Shield feels. And then when this model came out, because the Shield came out first, then they came out with the EZ model. And the nice thing about the EZ model is you, of course, get one with night sights again. This one has high vis night sights, so during the day or night, it's very visible. It has a few other features that the other one doesn't, with this little, it has a stainless steel grip safety, and that's another thing on there, is gun won't go off unless you're gripping it, right? So that's just another safety issue there. That way you don't need this thumb safety. Now, there are models with the thumb safety, and especially even in the SIG 365, there's models with the thumb safety. There's also ones in the Ruger LCPs with the thumb safety. There's no need for it if it's a striker fire, in my opinion. So that being said, grip model. Now, one thing I did do with this firearm is, you can see that it looks polished. Now, if you go out and look at one, you're gonna see that it's actually, in the stores, they're bigger than this and have ribs on it. And the problem with that is when I gripped it, it seemed like overkill to get that to engage. It seemed too big, especially compared to their normal EZ Shield model, right? So I took a look at an EZ Shield model and looked and saw how far it pushed in. And then I just took a Dremel and took off the extra that wasn't needed, and then kept measuring it with calipers to make sure, because it's hollow inside there, to make sure I didn't go through, and then get all of that off, because I really don't need that grip right there. I'd rather have it comfortable on the web of my hand and push in far enough to where it almost feels like it's not there. And I didn't take it all the way to where it's flush, but I took it equal to the other one because I want it to engage, especially in a bad situation where I may get an off grip. I still want that safety feature to engage, right? So don't take off too much, but as you can see right there, I took off just enough to where you can still see the bump of the upper thing, but smooth that all out. And then I just took smooth sandpaper down to 800 grit, and that left me with that satin finish look. So it really looks nice. It feels nice in the hand. This one has a indicator that if there's a shell in there, this pops up. This little center rail right there will pop up. So that's another way to know it's not loaded, or it is loaded in no light conditions. So you can see when I push on it, see how that pops up? That'll, if it was like that, I'd know it was loaded, right? So in the dark, I can even feel, right? Or if I've got an eye that's injured, I can feel that this gun is loaded. Now this model, the standard comes with just a regular plastic flat trigger. This one comes with an aluminum flat trigger, which is nice. You can put a light on here. I don't have one on here because lights get expensive to buy, especially if you have a few handguns. Now they put this little port on the end of the barrel. I'm sure it works a little bit. I'm not sure how much it does, because it's they've counterboarded a little bit instead of just leaving the barrel out there, and it doesn't really stick out. It would have been better if it stuck out a little bit more and had 2 ports in it, maybe, and just coming straight from the bore rather than counterboring it. But you know what? It was there, and then for looks, they just mill out the slides so you can see the chrome barrel in there. So it's an attractive gun, but the nice thing about it is, and here's the cool features, you can't really see it in there, but if you remember this little T thing that's on the back there, that thing, well, they've made it part of this gun. And as you can see there, there's a ledge right there. And I can grab this ledge and charge this weapon very easily, right? And on the other, there is some sort of serrations down here on the bottom on the front, but I can also do it from the front or press check it. But the other thing you'll notice is, look how easy this slide is, right? They put a lighter spring on this slide so that it's basically anybody can charge this gun. And when I've taken people out that have bought guns they don't like shooting and I have them go out and shoot this gun, they love it. Not only is it accurate, it's reliable, it shoots softly, and all the controls on it are nice and easy to use. As you can see there, it's got a slide stop on this side that sticks out a little bit, as you can see right there. So that way, if you lock the slide back and see that it doesn't hold, you know, it's easy to push down. I didn't have to hardly touch that to drop the slide. The safety or the magazine release can be put on either side of the gun. I have it on the thumb side on this one, but sometimes I move it to push with my finger right there to drop it as well. So you can switch it if you're right or left-handed. It does eject out the right side, however, remember that. The trigger on it, as you can see, let's ghost it. Oh, probably needs the, has a safety feature, needs the slide magazine in, but here we go. See, it has a nice light one. And then we'll do the reset. Right there, that was it. That is ready to fire again. So great, great firearm. I think for the money especially, this would be a good one that somebody could use as their primary defense at home on their nightstand and even carry it, and it's not too heavy. The nice thing about this with the performance model is they give it, you also get, besides it saying performance model in it and the other little extras, you get a nice little cleaning kit with it too. So that'll make sure that people clean and oil their guns, which I think is really cool. You get an extra magazine. Now that being said, let's take a look at those magazines. There's another feature on here for people that have dexterity issues. You'll see these little fins on there. You see those fins right there? Those are meant so that you can set it on a table and push this follower down with your hand. So you know when you guys are pushing rounds in and your thumb starts to hurt and get raw after a day at the range, well, they want you to enjoy shooting and get out there and practice more. So you can just push this down and drop the rounds in, just that easy. Using the table, which is solid, and your fingers here, which are good, that you can put on there and just drop those shells in. Now, the downside, it holds 8 plus 1. That's it. I haven't really looked to see if there's extended magazines, but my guess is with this, because of the design of the magazine, probably not. If there was a new model out there, which I'm not sure of yet, that was a double stack that got me, say, 12 rounds, I would get that in an EZ model rather than the other. So this is actually my pick for the best concealed carry or home protection. It fills both roles. Firearm, and you can get it in 40 caliber if you want it. You can get it in 380. I wouldn't, but you could, because if you're going to have a 380 that's this big, you might as well, you know, get a 9mm, because there's no difference in size between the 9 and the 380. They're exactly the same size. So they might be a little lighter because the bullets are lighter for a 380, but that's that. So that's what I would do. The only thing I would do if you get the performance model is maybe smooth that down if you don't like the way it feels in the web of your hand. Other than that, this is really a well-designed gun for first-timers, ladies, people with dexterity issues, whether it be arthritis, age, or whatever, which seems to be a lot of people out there these days, and I don't blame them. They should, getting out there, being their own first responders. So that being said, that's my video. I know it went a little bit long. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that helps you when you're out there. And again, like I said at the beginning of the video, go out and take at least one course where you can try, where you have an instructor that has different options. Let him know what you want to look at. Like, go to the store first, look at all the different guns. The ones you see at the store that you like, that fit your hands good, that you like the gun, right? and maybe a few others that you want to try out, and then call the guy and say, do you have these guns? Can I do the, and they'll have a special course where it's like a tester course where you bring certain amount of ammo and they charge you, I think it was like the last guy I checked was like $50, and he goes out and not only do you get some instruction on the range, you actually get to try out all those firearms to see if you actually like them, if you can shoot them good. And if you will go out and shoot them often. I think you'll find that if you do that, well, at least I hope you'll find that the things I've said here hold true for you. So don't just go out and get this one because I said so, but this is a great option. If I had to go from that, I would either say the Glock 43, the SIG 365, maybe the FN Reflex coming in a future video, or a little revolver like this, whether it be a featherweight like these Scandium designs, or a lightweight or airweight Ladysmith, or even a heavy stainless steel model. And if you're going to do these little ones, I would have these as more of a backup, right? These little pocket 380s, right? And the one I tend to like the most is the, because it has 10 rounds and it's a striker fire, is the LCP Max, right? But this one is smaller, which is really nice. That being said, I do carry this one the most because it's handy. I have it. I can throw it. I don't mind banging it up. In fact, it has some lint here that needs to be cleaned out of there. And I do actually use it in the pockets of my athletic shorts and things like that. So, but they're not really made for distance or any kind of accuracy like that. It's just right to me to you right there, right? The defense that most of the time we're going to run into, if we run into any at all, which I hope never happens. But that being said, be safe, be secure, always be aware of your surroundings, always carry, and until next time, adios and aloha.